Hello, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're talking about obsession, and if you've been anywhere near the internet lately, you already know this movie blew up. It did so well, it actually got extended in theaters, which almost never happens anywhere. So, I finally sat down and watched it, and yeah, I loved it. It's genuinely well done. And the best part is the plot is open enough that everyone walks away interpreting it a little differently, which is exactly why I need to talk about it because I have some thoughts. Quick disclaimer before we start, this video is spoilers top to bottom all the way through. If you haven't watched it yet, pause me right now, go watch it and come back. I promise I'll still be here. And hey, consider subscribing. And if you've got opinions on this one, and trust me, everyone does, drop them in the comments. Okay, let's go. Let's start with the setup. Beer has feeling for his friend Niki, or at least that's what he tells himself. And honestly, I think what he's calling feelings is closer to sympathy dressed up as romance. But we will circle back to that. So after the trivia night, he drops Nikki home, and there is a moment, a real genuine moment, where he could have just told her how he felt, and he doesn't. And I get why at first. Ian's been in his ear telling him not to risk the friendship. Fine, that's normal. Human kind of scared. What I don't get is what happens next. Nikki turns around and directly asks him flat out if he likes her. Now would be the time to say so. She stops, she turns back, she asks again. If she generally doesn't care, she leaves. She doesn't pause and double back to give him a second shot. But Bear, he looks her dead in the eyes and shuts it down, making sure she knows it's strictly platonic. So that's strike one. Not that he was scared at the start, that's forgivable, but that when he was handed a second, clearly chance, he actively lied about how he felt. Now, I'll admit this particular read is a little controversial. Apparently, in the original script, this bit doesn't play out the same way. Nikki never turns back to ask if he likes her. And on the page, she's not written as having those feelings for him at all. So depending on how you take it, this might be more me reading into it than something the writers actually intended. But the way it's shot and acted in the finished movie gives you just enough of a look, just enough hesitation that it plants the suspicion anyway, whether or not it was there in the original draft. Okay, real talk. The more I sat with this movie, the more I became convinced the actual horror isn't the Willow at all. It's Beer. Because here's the thing, people keep getting backwards. This isn't a be careful what you wish for story, where the universe punishes you no matter what you ask. Everyone else who uses that Willow just gets their wish. Cleanly, no twist, no fine print. Which means whatever went wrong with Beer didn't come from the object. It came from him. So ask yourself what he actually asked for. Not money, not looks. He asked for a person, a whole separate thinking, feeling human being to be hollowed out and filled with obsession for him specifically. And that's not really a wish you can grant gently, is it? There is no soft version of that request to make someone love you more than anyone else on earth against who they actually are. You are not enhancing Nikki. You are deleting her and leaving something else driving her body around, which honestly reframes the entire back half of the movie for me. That creature everyone calls a demon, it's not some external evil that's knocking through a loophole. It's just Beer's wish, given a face. Obsessive, inhumane, indifferent to Nikki as a person. And once you see the wish for what it is, everything that happens to Nikki hits so much harder. After the wish, Nikki comes back completely transformed, practically throwing herself at him, inviting him over, making it as obvious as physically possible that she likes him. And Beer's reaction is to recoil. He actually says to her, "Are you okay? What the F? You are freaking me out. She still manages to talk him into coming back to his place and they spend a night together. And even then, he spends the whole thing acting distant and weirded out by the person he supposedly wanted this badly. Now, to be fair to him for about half a second, maybe part of that reaction is fear, not indifference. Maybe some part of him suspects the wish actually worked, and that's what's really freaking him out. Except the movie never gives us that read. There is no flicker of recognition, no beat where he connects the dots. As far as we can tell, he has no idea the wish worked at all. Which means the most generous version of events is that a woman is showing him genuine interest, and he's still recoiling from her like she's a threat. Then it gets worse the next day. They show up to work together, and Yen actually clocks in, asks what happened, why they came in together, and instead of using that moment to just talk to Niki, to check in on her, ask if she's okay, have an actual conversation about the night before, Bia turns around and complains about her to Yen instead. Talks about her like she's a problem to be managed, not a person he supposedly cares about. Then, at the end of that same workday, he tells her flat out that he can't drop her home, so she ends up leaving with Yen instead. Not once does he sit down with her directly. It's only after all of that Niki comes to his home herself and confesses how she feels, and that's when they actually start dating and things look happy for a while. There is also something that didn't make the theatrical cut but exists in the original script, and honestly it makes Beer worse. In some of the moments where they're intimate, the real Niki actually resurfaces, just briefly, just enough to show that the person underneath is present and aware, and Beer does nothing. He doesn't stop. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't pause to consider what it means that this keeps happening to someone who isn't fully there by choice. That's not a guy chasing an idea of romance anymore. That's a guy who's been shown more than once exactly what he's doing and decides his own fantasy matters more than her reality. Later, once Yin convinced him Niki's been lying, that her dad was never sick, that she just likes him like a brother, Pierre starts pulling away for real. And honestly, I can't stand Yin in this movie either. He's a genuinely horrible friend with a huge ego. And what he's doing is straight up gaslighting his own friend into doubting the one good thing he had going. I'm fairly convinced he liked Niki himself, and the second she and Beer got together, he couldn't stand it. So he found a way to plant doubt and pull it apart. And that's the exact moment the possessed side of Niki starts to spiral. The second she senses he's terrified of her, she unravels, crying, becoming possessive, because she genuinely loves him with the intensity his own wish demanded, and she can feel him flinching away from it. And honestly, this is the part I've seen so many people connect to in the comments. Women specifically saying they felt exactly what Niki's saying in that moment, because that's just what happens when you love someone and start sensing they don't feel it back the same way. It messes with you. You get more emotional, more vulnerable, more hurt. There is a moment that gets me every time. While the possessed version of her is asleep, the real Niki manages to break through just long enough to reach out to Beer herself, begging him to end it, to let her stop suffering. And Beer doesn't actually engage with that at all. Instead of caring that she's in agony, his whole focus snaps to himself, whether she genuinely likes him, or whether any of this was ever real. He's not asking how do I help her, he's asking does this count? She's the one person underneath all of this who's actually asking for mercy. And he is still stuck thinking about his own validation. And what makes it worse is the timeline. This is not a guy who stumbles blindly through the whole movie, never realizing what he's done. At certain point, the truth is right in front of him, undeniable, and he still doesn't pull the plug. He keeps stringing the relationship along anyway. Meanwhile, the fix was sitting right there the entire time. Maybe come clean to Yin sooner. Let Niki reverse it before things went this far. And Sarah, who clearly never stopped waiting for him, was still a completely viable off-ramp. None of that happens because Beer keeps choosing to protect the version of events where he still gets what he wanted, for as long as he can get away with it. Niki was never getting a clean ending either way, but every extra day he waited made it worse, and that delay is entirely on him. Here's a small detail I think a lot of people brush past, but it honestly one of the smartest thing in the script. Way back near the beginning, before any of the wish stuff kicks off, we get a tiny throwaway look at how Bear treats something he supposedly loves, his cat. He barely takes care of it. By the end, he's literally tossing it out like garbage. No ceremony, no guilt. So when Niki Thing later takes that same cat and turns it into something grotesque he's forced to confront, that's not just shock horror for the sake of it. The movie planted that detail on purpose. It's quietly telling you, right from minute one, exactly what Beer's version of love actually looks like underneath. Careless, disposable, only about what he gets out of it. Everything that happens to Niki later is just that same rot, scaled up to a human being. Last thing that genuinely baffles me, Sarah. After watching Niki spiral into something willing to hurt herself, still sneaks out in the middle of the night to go after Beer. Zero self-preservation instinct. And Beer, fully aware of what Niki is capable of at that point, sneaks out to meet her anyway. Two people making the single word decision available to them back to back. So where does that leave us? Niki is the real victim of this entire movie. She was possessed by something she never asked for, forced to watch herself do unthinkable things, powerless to stop any of it. And by the end, she is the one who wakes up surrounded by bodies. She is the one who will carry the consequences, whether that's prison or something worse. Pierre didn't just ruin his own life chasing a wish he didn't understand. He ruined Niki's, and he dragged Sarah down with her. And that's what makes obsession work so well as horror. It's not really about a cursed item. It's about what happens when someone wants a person more than they respect them, and what that desire looks like once it's given a physical form. That's my take. Now I want to hear yours. Was Beer ever redeemable, or was he cooked from the cat in the trash bag scene? Let me know in the comments. Hit subscribe if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next one.